Okay, hey, I'm Middens. This is going to be a tutorial for the Tasmanian Tiger 2 with the Game Boy Advance. This game's extremely busted, so this is going to be just going over the advanced movement tech, and there's quite a bit, so let's just start. So the most busted state in this game is landing in a boomerang throw. It might not seem that busted at first, but for instance, if you're facing the opposite direction that you're traveling when you enter this state, the game will try and slow you down by accelerating you backwards, which allows us to gain infinite speed. Oops. Like that. And it's pretty easy to do. There's a few other things that the state allows us to do, but we'll get into that. So, first thing is boosteranging, which you just saw. The way that this works is, as I mentioned, when you land out of a boomerang throw, during a boomerang throw while facing the opposite direction that you're traveling, the game accelerates you backwards, and if you keep staying in that state by continually throwing boomerangs, you just gain more and more speed. So to do this, you jump, and then right before you touch the ground, you turn around and throw your boomerang. Oops. Like that. You'll notice he slides a little bit. Yeah, there you go. That was a good example. He slides a little bit backwards. We can do this by throwing two boomerangs, and he slides a little bit further. But then we're out of boomerangs. So the goal here is to throw into the ground so that you instantly re-grab your boomerang. You'll notice when I'm moving across the ground, I hold down in the direction that I'm traveling for the most part. It's because if you hold straight down, you normally won't re-grab your boomerangs fast enough. There's a few exceptions, for instance going down hills, or if you're up against a wall, you can still gain speed despite not moving. So it's basically jump in the air, turn around right before you land, throw a boomerang down, and then continue holding down and mashing B. The mashing's not super fast. It's every 4 to 8 frames, so fairly quick, but a fairly wide window. And the main thing is just consistently mashing the B button. So there you notice how I stopped because I was throwing down right and I hit the wall, so I couldn't re-grab fast enough. You can do this both directions. Oops. And you go really, really far and really, really fast. Your speed's basically limited by a 32-bit integer, which is basically in the millions of pixels per frame for the upper limit of it. So there's no chance that you'll hit that. So it's basically considered unbounded. One really cool thing with this is if we do it against a wall, we can continue gaining speed until we're traveling fast enough to clip into the wall. I guess this would be a good time to explain movement inside of a wall. So right now, if I hold left or I hold right, I won't move and I can't jump, so I'm kind of stuck. But we can use collisions in order to move. So if we hold either left or right and throw a boomerang, we'll move the opposite direction. And then if we're under a sloped ground, we can normally just jump out. Or if the ground is shallow enough. And we'll use that multiple times throughout this run. Yep. So that's boosteranging, and that's kind of the main movement of this run, and it'll be super useful being able to clip. The other thing is a super jump. So normally Ty can only jump about this high, and you can jump really shallow if you glide immediately afterwards. But you can do what's known as a super jump, which looks like this, where Ty gains considerable height. The way this works is basically when you jump, the first time you glide, your Y velocity is reset to 0, and then any glide afterwards, it's not. Like you'll notice we were able to shorten our jumps by gliding immediately afterwards, and we're also able to, if we're falling kind of stop tie for a second. However, if this bit that says tie's already glided, this jump is already set, it doesn't reset that velocity, and we basically have 1/3 gravity. So the way this works is landing with a boomerang throw and then immediately jumping and gliding again means that we have upward velocity and 1/3 gravity. So once again, it looks like this. You can do this with every boomerang by holding down and then jumping, gliding, throwing the boomerang and landing, and then jumping, gliding immediately afterwards. Like that. It's fairly easy. One interesting thing about gliding is the devs never intended for you to be able to move upwards with it, so there's no ceiling collision, so you can embed yourself within walls. Like that. And that will be useful throughout this run too. Normally, if you don't jump immediately afterwards, you run into some issues. For instance, it doesn't save. However, with Inferring, it does. So we can perform the setup for the super jump, move around, and then super jump at any point in time afterwards. Because of this, we buy Inferrings really early on in the run because we need them for a later level anyways, and they just make super jumps really easy. With regular boomerangs, it's also almost impossible to do them on a platform, since if you hold down and jump, tie falls through, but it's not an issue with the Inferring, as we can kind of just throw them any direction, and then once we regrab them, do the super jump. So Inferrangs will kind of be your friend as far as super jumps go. The other way of storing a super jump is out of a boosterang, so every once in a while the bit will remain stored, it seems. So basically out of any boosterang you can do a super jump. Let's see. Okay, so there we did a boosterang, and now if we just jump and glide, we get a super jump. That's also really, really useful. So I think that concludes most of the basic movement as far as the advanced tech goes. So I'm going to cut this video, and then I'll have another video linked with this one going over the route. So thanks for watching, guys.